do have a fax machine at home, but that possibility is available, or we can email it to you.
We've just noticed the mail the last 2 months. We don't know what the problem is, but
Right.
the mail is super slow. It's been taking at least a week for us to receive anything. So just that time, I don't think it's going to work if we end up communicating by mail. Either the information coming to us, but also us turning around and sending the information out. I think it's going to be not enough time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people have noticed that mail delivery has slowed down quite a bit since the big hubs have been consolidated. And boy, to mail a letter from one place to another in Wisconsin sometimes has to go to the Twin Cities first and come back.
I think we've
Right.
talked a lot of the stuff that leaves from Juneau has to go to Milwaukee before it comes back, even if we send something from Juneau to Juneau or even Juneau to Beaver Dam. And this was a couple months too, I think, when I started noticing the issue. I had the city wrong when I was mailing out someone a letter, and it took an entire month for me to send it out and then for it to come back undeliverable. So yeah, there's just something funky about the mail. So I guess I would not rely on it if I were someone who's needing the unbiased counseling from us.
Right. Yeah, there's just no time for that at this point.
Very good. We're talking about Medicare open enrollment and a lot of other things affecting people with disabilities and also seniors here in Dodge County. Our guests are Amanda Higgins and Jennie Farmer. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
And welcome back to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV. Here is Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Ashley. We're talking to Amanda Higgins and Jennie Farmer with the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dodge County, ADRC, maybe you know them as. Maybe you have a question or a comment. It is open enrollment time, and that sparks a lot of questions and concerns. So go ahead and you've got some office hours with the experts right here on WBEV. You can call us or text us at 920-887-9595, or you can call our studio line at 885-4446. And, you know, we've been talking about Medicare open enrollment, but then there's an important period of time after that, and that's Medicare Advantage open enrollment. It never seems to end.
No, really.
It doesn't. We just stay busy all the time. So there's another open enrollment period that is January 1st through March 31st, and that is a Medicare Advantage open enrollment. So that is for folks who already have an Advantage plan. It's not dealing with people who just have a prescription drug plan. It's just dealing with people who have an Advantage plan. So Advantage plan's also known as Part C. That's when I like to consider it like Flow when you bundle your plans.
Okay.
You're putting together all of your insurance under one, your hearing, your dental, your vision, your medical with doctors, your hospital, so your Part A, your Part B, your Part D, mostly your prescription drug plan is all bundled under one plan with your Advantage plan. So if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, for the most part, you're looking at it now during open enrollment. There is another opportunity during that, like I said, January 1st to March 31st, where you can look at your Advantage plan again if you had issues with whatever you signed up with, or you didn't hear us while we've been talking about this for the months leading up to, and you didn't do anything during this open enrollment, you do have a second opportunity during that Advantage plan open enrollment as well.
And that goes from the end of January to the end of March?
Right, the beginning of January.
Oh, beginning of January. Thank
Beginning
you.
of January to the end of March. Yep.
Okay, very good. Some good news for people getting their Social Security payments. Cost of living adjustment is on the way.
Yeah, so on October 24th, Social Security released the 2026 cost of living, otherwise known as COLA. So for next year, starting in January, the increase is 2.8%. I think it's been around in the news a lot, so I think most people have heard about it, but just wanted to take the opportunity and utilize this platform to just share that information in case someone missed that information. And Social Security has like a blog on their website that just talks about different things going on within the administration. And when they released the cost of living announcement in that blog, they indicated that for most beneficiaries receiving Social Security benefits, they'll see a $56 per month increase in their benefit payment. And I think, if I remember right, the article was talking about right around this time, the 2026 benefit changes are going to be released in people's Social Security accounts. So if you have a My Social Security account, you should be able to log in either this week or next week. I can't remember what the date is, to check exactly what that reflection is going to be for your benefit payment. For those who don't have a Social Security account, I believe that blog indicated that the paper notices that people get in the mail will come out the beginning of December. So it's kind of that skinnier notice, and it's all rolled up on itself, kind of taped at the bottom. So that paper notice is what's going to be coming out the early part of December. But for people that have the electronic accounts, you're able to see it a little earlier.
And $56, is that an average? Is that for most people?
The approximate amount with that 2.8% increase. So I would say, depending on if a person gets a higher or lower benefit, that's all going to be reflective in that 2.8%. But to give kind of a dollar value connected to what that looks like is about $56. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to add, make sure you hang on to that paper that Social Security sends you with the notification of your change in your Social Security amount, because there's many things with paperwork where they ask you for what is your benefit amount. And we often throughout the year have people calling us saying, how do I get my benefit letter? When they're referring to your benefit letter, that's the letter they're referring to. So don't lose that. File it away, hang on to it, and every year hang on to that letter.
That's a good point, because I talked to somebody recently who was doing like a housing application or something, and he just went through just the rigmarole trying to, I think he had to get a new Social Security card or something like that before that he could even get his award notice for 2026. It was just very much more difficult than it would have been if he would have kept that notice. So yes, good point.
Hang on to it.
All right, yeah, that is good advice.
And then I also just wanted to share the 2026 Medicare numbers. So CMS, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, just this last Friday on the 14th, released the original Medicare Part A and Part B dollar figures for 2026. And there's a lot of numbers to go over here, which I'm not going to bore everybody with. But I think the most important information to know is that the standard monthly Medicare Part B premium, so B is the medical side of original Medicare, so your primary doctor, specialist, durable medical equipment, outpatient hospital, that sort of stuff. That premium next year is going to be $202.90. So it looks like it's about a almost $18 increase from what it was here in 2025. So there's always conversations, I feel like, that I hear about the cost of living, and that whatever the cost of living is for the year, it just eats up what the increase is for the Medicare Part B premium specifically. And they're not necessarily correlated with each other. Just because there's a cost of living does not guarantee that the Part B premium will change, which it has for the last handful of years. They're also talking about in here that the increase of that standard premium is mainly due to projected price changes and the assumed utilization increase that are consistent with historical experiences. So just the amount of time that people are using those medical services, being it through original Medicare or the medical benefits through Advantage plans. They're just looking at it very broadly, nationally, that there is an increase in people utilizing those medical services. So that's what's driving that increase of the Part B premium.
All right, very good. Moving on to what's next. What do you have?
Let's see. I guess we can start talking about just coverage for ambulance services underneath Medicare benefits.
Okay.
This can get kind of complicated a little bit, but specifically in regards to ambulance services underneath original Medicare is very specific in terms of if the claim is going to be covered. And I was talking to Jennie on the way over here, and it's been a hot minute, and I think it was before you started, because I don't remember talking to you about this, but there was a year, I don't know, maybe 2017-ish, that I had like 3 ambulance denials in 1 year that people came and were seeking help from our office. And 2 of them, I think I was able to overturn, and they ended up being favorable, but one of them wasn't. And it's because of the requirement that Medicare is looking at to say that item or service, which is the ambulance ride, is medically necessary. So what Medicare is looking at is that you have to have a medical emergency and you are unable to use a different form of transportation, being it your own vehicle, a neighbor's vehicle, a family's vehicle, someone that's able to take you even if you can't drive yourself, or public transportation. So in Beaver Dam, it would be the local taxi service, right? And so the issue is you need to safely be able to take that transportation, and if you're not, that's when an ambulance ride could be covered. And so when I had those 3 denials in 1 year, it was a gentleman, it was like the dead of winter, he had this severe nosebleed that would not stop. He was afraid he was going to like bleed out or something. He lives alone in this apartment complex, and I think it was like 2:00 in the morning or something like that, and the taxi service isn't open. And so he called the ambulance. He had a trip. The ambulance ride was denied, but even after the appeal, Medicare's justification is that it was available. So even though the taxi service wasn't open for him to, because I don't think he even drove himself, if I remember right, but they still denied it because they're saying that he could have waited until the taxi opened, whatever clock in the morning, for him to utilize that public transportation. So I guess I don't want people to not call for an ambulance service if they absolutely need to, but on the back end, when you're talking about trying to reverse Medicare's reasoning of providing that service, is that there is no other transportation available.
So, I mean, I guess it seems to put the individual in an unfair position. You know, if you're having a medical emergency, you feel like you should be able to call the ambulance. You shouldn't have to be sitting there doing the calculus in your head.
Right.
Well, would Medicare cover this?
Right. So don't make a rash medical decision based on if it's going to be covered or not, because we'll try to figure out something on the back end. I think this particular case that I'm thinking about, I think we ended up setting up like a payment plan. So he didn't go broke over it. It was just kind of an inconvenience to pay whatever that out-of-pocket cost was. But yeah, so I guess that's what Medicare is looking at for coverage of an ambulance service, which is kind of frustrating to think about, especially in rural Beaver Dam or rural Dodge County that we're living in, because there's not as much public transportation as there is in, Madison, for example.
Certainly. We're talking to Amanda Higgins and Jennie Farmer with the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dodge County. We need to take a break for the news right now, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
with Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Ashley. We're talking with Amanda Higgins and Jennie Farmer of the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dodge County. Let's say if you're getting Social Security or Medicare and you have any kind of questions, they're the people who are here to help, and they're great to join us every month to provide you an opportunity to talk with you on the radio about any questions that you have. In order to do that, you can call us or text us at 920-887-9595, or you can call our studio line at 885-4446. And before the news, we were talking about these unfortunate situations where people, are denied certain aspects of their coverage or benefits, and you want to remind people that you are there for them no matter what kind of situation, denial situation they find themselves in.
Yeah, so we were just talking about just what Medicare is looking at to approve an ambulance ride, and that a lot of rides potentially could be denied just not meeting the requirements that I keep doing that today.
It's easy
Medicare is looking at, and we just wanted to let everybody know that we're here to provide information. We're here to answer your questions. Really in the unfortunate situation where you have a medical item or a medical service that's denied. We just want people to know that, we're here to help. We can look through what the denial reason is. Jennie and I were both supervised by a program attorney that really is knowledgeable in all aspects of elder law, so being Social Security, Medicare. So even though we might not necessarily have a quick answer for you right off the bat, we can look through the summary notice, either your Medicare summary notice or your explanation of benefits if you're in an Advantage plan, to look at some of the coding information, understand if there's merit to file an appeal. In all of those summary notices, there is instructions on how to file an appeal on your own. But I guess a benefit of working with one of us benefit specialists is that we can do more than just filling out the appeal paperwork. We can talk with you and help you work with your medical provider to maybe write a supporting letter of why that item or service is needed. We can dig through the Medicare coverage manual to understand the criteria that Medicare is using the denial for. So we can do a little bit more of a deep dive to really try to overturn that denied service to make it favorable and hopefully lessen the amount that you owe the medical provider.
Certainly, and like I say, you just alluded to, how the system works better than most lay people by far, and also you can reach out and make those connections, and they know you, and they, have a good working relationship.
Yeah, well, anytime that you get something that's denied from either Social Security, your insurance plan, Medicare, whatever, it seems a little daunting, and then people just kind of want to brush it underneath the rug, I feel. But that doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, there's definitely work involved on our end and the beneficiary that's seeking our services, but at the end of the day, it's really going to help save you financially if you're able to kind of dig into that a little bit to see if there is merit to overturn whatever that decision is. So we just wanted to let people know that we're here for a lot more than just Medicare counseling and just general information. We can really provide some deep counseling services.
Well, in the case of the gentleman that you just mentioned, you were able to work out, it looks like he was able to get set up with some kind of installment plan.
Yeah, I can't remember the details, but yeah, I was so sad that Medicare didn't overturn, even though we were pleading our case so that's the other thing. We in addition to just filling out the Medicare appeal paperwork, between our program attorney and us, we write an appeal brief. So just more of an explanation, citing Medicare law and the reason why that service should be covered. So we put so much work into it, and I was just really sad that it came back with another denial. But at the end of the day, he didn't, lose his apartment. He was still able to put food on the table and get his medications. And I'm almost positive we ended up working with the ambulance billing company and set up payment plans, so he was able to pay it back slowly.
That's a good example, I think, of how your help can be beneficial, because it might not occur to anyone trying to contact Medicare directly that this might be an option for them.
Yeah, so, hospital denials, skilled nursing care denials. It must have been just something in the water for that particular year that I got kind of 3 in a row, but I was successful with the 2 other ones. So it really just depends on the specifics of the situation. But I still would say that even though that one we didn't get overturned, it was still successful anyways, because like I said, he didn't lose any of the basic living necessities.
Absolutely. What else do we have on the agenda today? End of pilot project, changing Medicare Advantage plan supplemental benefits.
Yes. So some people with their Medicare Advantage plans, again, that's that Part C bundle type of situation. Some people were getting these spending cards with them, where they could use them for like over-the-counter medications, or sometimes they could use them for food. Sometimes they could use them towards utilities. There was different things that they could use them for to help offset costs for them. That project began back in 2017. It was given as part of the Advantage Plan programs. The original goal of that was to increase access and services so they could improve their health overall, because their money was going to be able to be funneled in other ways. For example, a lot of people complain that they can't get their vitamins with prescription drug coverage or Tylenol. So these cards, they were able to do that with. So a lot of people really utilize these cards. That program is ending with 2025. 26. It'll be over at the end of this year.
Yes.
It'll be at the end of this year. So going into 2026, these cards, this program is no longer going to be available unless you are part of the chronic conditions situation. So there are some Advantage plans for people who have chronic medical conditions, but you have to prove that you have one of the conditions that are listed in Medicare's pre-approved list. I don't have that list of what those chronic conditions are.
I think it depends on the plan, is my understanding.
Right. So depending on what conditions you have. So if you are on a chronic conditions Medicare Advantage plan, it's actually listed in the name with it. They are C-SNP plans. So C meaning chronic, and then special needs plans. So when you're actually on the plan finder, it'll call it a C-SNP plan next to the name. Those plans you can still get, for the most part, those special cards to have those extra over-the-counter needs and everything. So we bring it up because a lot of people were choosing their plans based upon getting those cards, because that extra $60, $100 made a huge difference for them each month, and now that's going away.
So what options do they have? Anybody who finds themselves, not getting a benefit that they've become accustomed to, relying on.
Right. And unfortunately, they're just going to be without it, and they're going to have to re-budget without those cards.
Yeah, I think it's just having that education conversation is what I've noticed. Going through Advantage Plan, those extra benefits with people. There was a couple that I met with last week, and I think it was an over-the-counter card. They were getting like $183 or $86 or something like that this year, and they're still going to get it next year, but it's going to be reduced like by $30. So it's still more than what they wouldn't have if they weren't in the plan, but I think it's just looking through the details on what those extra benefits really provide. But we've also had a lot of conversations about the primary purpose of enrolling or purchasing a health insurance, which is for the medical and prescription drug needs essentially. So we've been really trying to change the conversation a little bit to at least make sure that those needs are met first. And if those extra, cards to buy groceries or over-the-counter products is there, I guess I just talk about it that it's just the extra cherry in the top. It's just that extra bells and whistles, but it's not the core reason why you're choosing that plan.
Very good. We're talking to Amanda Higgins and Jennie Farmer with the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dodge County. We need to take a break right here, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Terry Bell.
Thank you, Ashley. We're talking to Amanda Higgins and Jennie Farmer of the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dodge County. If you have a question or a comment, if you're dealing with Medicare or Social Security questions or any other kind of question, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Go ahead and give us a call at 920-887-9595. You can also text us at 920-887-9595, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. And I mentioned Social Security and Medicare, and I know that's a big part of your job, helping people navigate those systems because they can be awfully confusing and complicated. But that's just scratching the surface of what it is you do at the ADRC.
Yeah, when I first started, they just updated the state brochure for the benefit specialist program, but they used to had a like saying that we were helping people cut through the red tape of public benefits, which I still believe that to be true. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about, what other services that we can help with in addition just to Medicare counseling.
Yeah, so one example that pops into my head right away is when you are deciding on whether or not you want to get disability benefits and you're in your late 60s and you can't decide whether or not you want to apply for early retirement or Social Security disability benefits. We can help talk to you about the difference in those financial situations and what the implications can be going forward with those things, and then actually help you with the applications with those. We can't make the decisions for you, though, and a lot of times people want us to make those decisions for them. We can't do that. We help people with Medicaid counseling. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden.
I think just understanding Medicaid, I actually was talking to someone yesterday. Medicaid in itself can be just so complicated because there's so many different flavors of Medicaid. But I think the common one that most of the community refers to is Badger Care. But there's a lot more to Medicaid than Badger Care.
Right. There's ways that we can help see if someone is eligible for Medicaid when they may have thought that their income was too high for Medicaid, and we like to try and help them figure that out, such as the Medicare Savings Program. This is a great program that we like to help people see if they qualify for so they don't have to pay that Part B premium, which can be very expensive for people. So we help people look at their financial situations for that.
Especially next year with it being 202.
Right. So if you're concerned about those types of things, that's another thing that we can help with. We have our Medicare class that we teach every month, which we talk about on a regular basis. We don't have our 2026 class schedule up yet, but we will have that by about mid-December. We'll come up with our class schedule. A lot of that depends on when we are in our own trainings. So Amanda, Ashley, and I are in regular trainings, and so that we have to make sure we don't put our classes on the day of our trainings. And just looking at the 2026 calendar, which we don't do until after open enrollment when our brains are a little more relaxed.
But that schedule shouldn't take too long to put together once
Right.
we can just get all the training calendars setting side by side and looking at dates available. But we will have a class in January. We usually have it the second or third week in January, and then every month after that. But just really encouraging people, about 6-8 months, depending on how excited you are to talk about Medicare before you turn 65 or eligible for Medicare, really getting that just basic education, that understanding of just how everything functions and works or doesn't work together before doing a deep dive into looking at plan specifics. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. I think he was 72 or 73, and he's still working, and he was fairly knowledgeable about Medicare. But then when we started talking about the differences between supplements and advantage plans, the conversation really took a different turn, and I think he wanted to dive into plan specific information. And I was like, well, let's just back up the train a little bit and just really talk separately about advantage plans and supplements, because you really can't compare them apples to apples. Just they are so different in their functionality of cost and coverage of medical services, but also when and how you can change plans in the future, I think is something else to be knowledgeable about. So just, come to that Medicare class, have an understanding before you need to start making some tough choices.
Well, one thing we always like to say is know us before you need us.
Yes.
We are here to help with a multitude of public benefit programs, and not only us as benefit specialists, but the entire Aging and Disability Resource Center. Call us when you need help with those types of situations. I don't think we've mentioned it yet today, but our number is 920-386-3580. Call us when you need helps with any type of resources when it comes to aging or disability within the community. We're here to help. If we don't have the answers, we'll try and direct you to the right person.
I have to imagine one of the most satisfying parts of your job is helping someone who feels overwhelmed by something they need to work out, and you help them, and they are relieved and happy and getting what they need.
Yeah, I mean, we work with a ton of different agencies: Social Security, Medicare, the Capital Consortium for Medicaid benefits. I had another meeting yesterday, and the lady applied for Medicaid benefits, but they didn't test her for the right category because she has a medical disability. And so by making a phone call, I think the whole process just seems a little overwhelming to her, but knowing that there's someone that's advocating and sitting on that side of the table to help her get the benefits that she needs, but then also helping her how it connects with other benefits that she's receiving, I think is still overwhelming to her, but at least she knows that she's not doing it alone, and that we're giving correct information.
Right. To make sure all your benefits are coordinated. There may be things that you're qualify for that you might not be aware of. So those are things that we want to make sure that you're getting the best situation possible.
Very good. That will do it for this edition of a Community Comment. The time really flies by. I hope I didn't cut you off anything you really wanted to
I was
say.
just looking at, like, when I was typing this up the other day, I was like, oh, I hope we have enough to talk about, because I feel like other agendas, there's more stuff on the page that I give you, and this time there really wasn't, but we still always fill in the time.
Absolutely, and it goes by quickly. Thank you so much, Jennie Farmer, Amanda Higgins from the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Dodge County. We want to thank you for listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.